Hey everybody, my name is Marty Lang. I'm the writer and director of the short film Protesters, and you're watching The Hot Set. Protesters is a short film that deals with the issue of abortion. It's a story about an abortion clinic protester, and he's actually sort of faces off with another person who comes in as a protester, but of the opposite side. The person who shows up is actually supportive of the women that are using the clinic services. So the film is about their sort of, back and forth that day at the clinic and sort of how their relationship plays out. Couple things inspired me to write it. My ex-girlfriend had an abortion before we had met. Not while we were together, but she had told me the story of it, and she told me about abortion clinic protesters that really made her life really stressful, and really, the experience that she told me of having to go in and having someone yelling at her, are you killing your baby today, and things like that. I mean, that really got to me when she told me that. So I always thought it would be interesting to try to tell a story, about that sort of part of the world. And the other piece of it was actually my brother-in-law. When my sister got married, my brother-in-law is a really great guy, but we have the absolute polar opposite politics. I'm as liberal as they come, and he's not. So the idea of, being able to disagree without being disagreeable was something that I wanted to explore in this film too. So those are kind of the two big inspirations for it. At the time, I was running a digital media startup in New Haven, Connecticut called Catalyst Media. And what we were able to do, I was able to convince my other co-founders of this, and I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. We financed the film through the company. And the reason that we did that was we were able to use the film as sort of I guess the right word would be like a presentation piece to go to colleges for. One of the things that we were doing at the company was trying to figure out how to make short form content that we could sell to the educational market, but we didn't have anything that we could show them that we had made. So I came up with a budget, and 10-minute film, I said to my other two partners, we can make this for $3,500. If you can give me that money, we can go out and we can make that film. And they agreed. The guy who played the supportive protester, his name is Michael Barra. We're good friends. We were both living in Connecticut at the time. He was actually with me when I wrote every draft of the script. We had talked about it as a film that we could write that he could star in. We went back and forth probably about 9 or 10 drafts before we got on what we were going to actually film. The main character of the film, the negative protester, he's played by a guy named Norm Golden. He's been on Orange is the New Black. He's done a couple of really good things. He's an older actor, really wonderful, wonderful guy, great performer. And I'd never worked with him before, so it was one of those things where I called him up and literally just offered him the part, with the assumption that we'd be able to get everything to work when we were on set. He's friends with Michael. They had worked together before, so I thought that would be kind of a good situation.
That's not even an articulate message.
The entire crew for the film, they were all graduates of a workforce training program that we used to run in Connecticut. It was called the Connecticut Film Industry Training Program. And literally all of our crew came from that. They were all graduates. Our director of photography, his name is Cory Maffucci. He was not only a graduate of the FITP, he was also my student when I taught at Quinnipiac University. And he, really wanted to work on it. We brought him on as a gaffer originally, and then offered him the DP role. And everyone else, that was a part of it, we're all students of mine, and people that I had worked with before. So, yeah, it was really pretty easy. Everybody wanted to help out, so it was great. One thing that I really wanted to work with on the film, and it dealt with color. there was a film that I watched that a friend of mine made a number of years ago called Medicine for Melancholy. And the film was really, really just sepia tone, really monochromatic. And I thought that look might be cool to tell a story about a character who sees things in black and white. So we talked about that before we went into production. You know, that was something that we wanted to do. That involved a lot of post-production color changing. Yeah. But, you know, we took care of, you know, making sure faces were lit properly and everything while we were shooting. So the idea was, you know, to have it in black and white at the beginning, or close to black and white, where you've got more of a red, and then introduce a little bit more color at the end once the character sees things a little bit, so there's a little bit more nuance to the way the character thinks. Yeah. So that was really the biggest thing that we had talked about. You know, really got some cool things that we were able to come up with. Like, one of the ideas that we had in the music was the idea of an anti-theme. We wanted to have sort of a transition from a very sparse score to a more lush one at the end, sort of as the oral equivalent of what you were seeing with the color adding in. So what we did was we came up with a score that started off all drums, and then as the film went along, the drums came down and the piano increased, so that by the time we hit the end of the film, it was almost all piano. And I thought that was really cool. And the other idea that we played with too in sound was the idea of hearing a fetal heartbeat throughout the film. So we used sound cues to get that across. So there would either be sounds of cars in the background that were at a sort of a consistent tempo, and then if you were shooting a scene in a house, in a room in a house, you would hear a fan whirring at that same tempo. And as you went through all the scenes, that sound was consistent, even though it was different things. You would have that heartbeat going, and we ended it when we saw the girl who actually had the abortion come out of the clinic. So I thought there were just great ideas that, you know, that we all came up with.
I can marry you.
What?
Today. Right now.
Hold on. Hold on. One thing at a time.
Seriously. I need to do the honorable thing here, right? Then I'll marry you.
Well, in addition to directing, I'm also a producer, and I was an associate producer of a film called Out of My Hand that filmed in Staten Island and Brooklyn last summer. That film just world premiered at the Berlin International Film Festival in Germany, so that's great. Really excited about that. Looking forward for it playing here in the U.S. I'm also writing a feature that deals with the issue of the American student loan debt crisis. That's something that I think is really big and should be explored. Also working on a TV pilot about adjunct college professors. The working title of it is Mad Junks, so hopefully that'll be good. I want to do that as a half-hour comedy. So yeah, got a couple things I'm working on.
Now that editing is done and sound's done, what are your plans for it?
Well, we've had a few festivals play the film. The New Haven International Film Festival played it since we did it locally. The Woods Hole Film Festival in Cape Cod played it, and that's a great festival. It's like a top 25 national festival, so we were really excited when we got it in there. Michael and I went up there for a couple days when the film played, and really I got a great response. Was part of a great group of films too, which was cool. Yeah, had a great experience there. It's online now. It's got about 1,000 views right now on Vimeo. We're looking to get it out to some other places. I mean, you always have the hope of getting it into a Sundance or a South by Southwest or a Tribeca, those kinds of things. And we did submit to those when the film was finished. We didn't get into any of those, but that's cool. You know, it's a very, the subject matter of the film, I can imagine, is challenging for some festivals. So, you know, we're totally cool with that. You know, we found people that really enjoyed it, and a lot of people have responded strongly to it one way or the other, and that's why you make it. So I hope that when people watch this film that they'll walk away with it with a little bit broader of an understanding of how people think when they think about big social issues. It doesn't necessarily have to be abortion. It could be gun rights. It could be religion, you know, whatever it is. I think it's really important to know that there's never one viewpoint when it comes to this, and that, you know, there's a continuum that people can fall on when it comes to how they think about these kinds of issues. So I hope that, you know, when they watch Protesters, they'll see that, you know, there's different viewpoints, you know, kind of encapsulated in the two guys that are at the clinic.
You killed your baby today. That's right. You killed a child. That child had a right to live. Sex before marriage is a sin, and you just made it worse by murdering a baby.
What the hell is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you?
She's just a child.
And you just killed a child.
You know what, sir? Fuck you!